So, good morning. If you don't know me, I'm Reverend Elisha Christopher. I use they, them pronouns, and I am the spiritual director here at the center. Let's begin by taking a few breaths together. So exhale it all out first. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Deep breath, breathe in. Let go. One more collective breath, breathe in. And let go. So our theme for this month and for the year 2024 is a grand rising. And we've started to explore this topic a little bit this month. And last week actually, we started talking about the book, The Four Pivots, which I've been doing a little bit of study on this last couple weeks. I'm going to use the four pivots last week and this week as sort of our what we're talking about, because it's been working me, folks. So I want you to see the book, The Four Pivots, Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves by Sean Jenwright. Thank you, Maggie, for putting that up. Just to recap really quickly, last week we talked about the first two pivots. I'm going to recover those really quickly, then we're going to move to the last two. The first pivot was the pivot from lens to mirror, right? Shifting the way that we look at the world. The lens says, I look at the world, I project my ideas and my thoughts onto it. The mirror says, I look at the world as an opportunity for self-reflection, right? So that's the pivot. The second pivot was the pivot from transactional to transformative relationships. Right? And that we all have lived in a world that has sold us this idea, right? That everything is a transaction. That everybody's out to get something, that we're all here in this exchange with each other. And really, the deep shift that we all get to make, need to make, could make, should make, is the shift from transactional thinking to transformational thinking. That we are actually here to be in the transformation with and for each other in all of our interactions. And I'll tell you, of the four pivots, that's the one that has hit me the hardest. Because I realized how much I have bought into this programming that tells me even my job here is a transaction between me and you. That I'm here to show up and give you something that you came here to get, rather than, oh, we're all here to be in this self-transformation, societal transformation, global transformation, and that's actually what we're all here doing. And I will tell you that just observing that mental conversation, that shift in myself, has shown up all over the place this week. Yes, Susan? Okay. Hello? So for me, the big pivot for me this week was to really recognize the difference in my own thinking of how I show up in different places in my life, where I've been just sold myself this idea that we're in a transaction. And to really realize that my job, our job, your job, is to just show up. When we show up, spirit can happen. When we show up, possibility opens up. When we're here to give or to get something, we lock ourselves into this idea of what's about to happen here, instead of showing up for what wants to happen, right? So the next two pivots. So the third pivot, this one I think is mine. I got this, but I'm going to share this one with you, and you're going to get it once I say it. The third pivot is the pivot from problem thinking to possibility thinking. This one's mine, y'all. And in the book, Dr. Sean talks about how much in the world of social change, especially, those of us who are working to shift and change the world and make it better for everybody, it's so easy to focus on, to name, to identify, to describe, to get really, really fully aware of what the problem is. We love the problems. Some of us really love the problems. We really love to talk about how bad it is and what's going to happen if he becomes president, or what happens if this happens, or what happens if that happens. We love to focus on the problems. And Dr. Sean says that when we focus on the problem, all we're going to get is more thinking about the problem, right? He talks about when we're looking at societal change, when we're looking at police reform or prison reform or any of these things, right? If we focus on the problem, we're going to come up with ideas like defund the police. instead of coming up with, what does real, true community care look like? Because that invites a vision. That invites a possibility of something we haven't thought of yet that's going to open up some new thoughts, that's going to get us to think about where we want to go, rather than identifying where we have been and what we don't want. Does that make sense? Yeah. Can you hear that? So for all of us to look at what are the problems that are showing up in our world, in our life, and then come up, really start to think with, what's the actual vision that we're looking towards? Not just what's the problem I want to fix, but what do I want to experience instead? What does the world look like that I want to live in? What does a true community care, in earth care, people care, love for each other look like? It's not just an absence of the things we don't like. It's the presence of something wholly and completely new. And the only way we're going to get to possibility thinking is if we're willing to imagine bigger stories, new ideas, come up with the vision, come up with those new thoughts. So, in CSL, we have our global vision, which we bring around and read back to you and we send out regularly. It's on our website. It's the image of the world that we want to live in, right? We say we envision a world that works for all of humanity and all of life. We envision a world where everyone has a home, enough food, and a sense of belonging. We envision a world that has care and that cares and shares our resources. Right? We have a vision statement that says this is the picture of the world that we want to live in. It doesn't say we want to live in a world without homelessness, a world without police, a world without that. It's like, no, stop saying what you don't want and start dreaming of what it is that you do want. And then when we focus on the possibility, that's life-giving. The more we focus on the problem, the more we bring ourselves into the mindset of fear. And fear shuts down your brain. Right? And so often in the world of activism, people get so wrapped up around the problem that the fear and the anxiety about what could happen eventually burns people out. So we have to balance it. And that's one of the things Dr. Sean points out in the book a lot, is it's not about either or, transitioning from this, leaving it behind and moving to that. It's realizing we need both. We need to understand what the problems are, and then from that place, begin to develop a picture of a vision of what we want. So that's the third pivot, from problem to possibility thinking. Fourth pivot is from hustle to flow. You're welcome. And this one, he says, is all about presence. Thanks, Maggie. That the fourth pivot is all about the presence. It's how we're able to show up. And if we're in the hustle, if we're in the hurry, if we're in the busyness of doing, we're not actually showing up to the things we're showing up for. We show up half present. We show up with not our fullness because we're so wrapped up in the busyness and in the doingness, we're not actually there where we say we are. Right? To move into a state that honors rest so that we can have the creativity, so that we can show up with our full self. And when we're in the flow, when we're in the rest, when we're in the creativity, guess what? That's where all those possibilities and new thoughts come from. When we're in the hustle, when we're in the rat race, the wheel, whatever you want to call it, when we're in the do, we don't have time to allow the space for the newness, for the dream, for the possibility, and for the creativity to emerge. Right? And this, I experienced this one today. Because as many of you know, Jason has stepped in as our office manager and my support person. And there's a bunch of little things that I'm supposed to do before Sunday morning, like the script that the announcer reads and the little program that the person on the computer is using. And my professional procrastinator self, who thinks that there's a transaction happening here, waits till Sunday morning to get those things done. So I have nightmares on Saturday night that I forgot something, and then I wake up with major anxiety, and then I'm running around the house forgetting things, and then I come here and I'm zipping back and forth because there's all this stuff that I need to get done. Well, we just got all that done on Friday. And I slept better last night. I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, like, I'm just going to sit and watch the sun come up. And then we like slowly got ready, came here, and I was like, oh, I can just hang out. We sat in the back room. Sky and I had a conversation. There was so much more room when I gave myself the spaciousness not to be in this hustle on Sunday morning, thinking that there's something I'm supposed to produce so that we can do this thing that we came here to do. It's no. I'm going to make spaciousness. I'm going to create room so that I'm able to show up for this transformational thing that we do in this room on Sunday mornings, fully and completely rested with the creativity, with the possibility flowing out of my mouth, so you all go, whoa.
Thank you.
That's what we're here for, right? And so I'm sharing this book with you because this book has been working me. Like, I read it 1.5 years, 2 years ago when it came out, and I'm in a study group that's doing this book, and each one I'm going, You know when you read something and you hear it the first time, you go, yep. And then you hear it again a little, and you go, oh. When you're ready, right? So, the 4 pivots. And I really believe that these, in this year of grand rising, when I'm inviting all of us to become the people, the society, the world that we really want to live in, the people that we came here to be, these 4 pivots are the 4 simple, small shifts that each one of us are being invited to make to step in this new direction. So can you bring that slide back up for me one more time, Maggie? So again, just to recap, the first pivot is all about awareness, shifting the awareness from the lens to the mirror as everything comes back at us as an opportunity for self-reflection. The second pivot is truly all about connection, shifting from transactional to transformational relationships. The third pivot is all about vision, from problem fixing to possibility creating. And the fourth pivot is all about presence, from hustle to flow. So this is your invitation to work with these 4 pivots in the next little while. I'm going to put a video of an interview with Dr. Sean in the e-news this week and a little bit of information about this book. I invite you to dive in and see what it does for you. So with that, take a deep breath in. If it's comfortable, close your eyes once again. And just bring your energy inward. Take another deep breath. And as I breathe, I remind myself first that I am being breathed by something greater than I am. Because what I know is that there is one seamless presence, one infinite life force, one mind that is living and breathing throughout the entirety of existence. It is this one life that is evolution, that is creation, that is the divine mind of all possibility, the quantum field, whatever you want to call it. I call it God. But what I know is that this one power, this one presence, this one life force is that which is breathing me, is that which is breathing each one of us. It is that presence that is looking through our eyes, beating our hearts, that each one of us is part of the one life, the life of the universe, the life of the earth, the life of the one. And so we come into this place to be reminded that we are here for transformation, that we are here for possibility, that each one of us is indeed a unique, individualized way, that the allness of the universe funnels all of that potential creativity into a unique outlet for creation. Each one of us is here in this world on purpose, with purpose, for a purpose. Each one of us came here to bring something unique into the world. And so in this year of grand rising here at this center and around the world, as we, as a global community, hold this idea that this year each one of us is being called into a grand rising. Each one of us is being called to step up and become the people that we came here to be, because the world is ready, and each one of us came here for a time such as this. And so let us just breathe today and begin to adjust the way that we show up. Let's clean off the lenses and start looking at the reflection that the world is trying to show back to us. Let's banish any thoughts of transactional thinking and begin to step ever deeper into the transformation. Let's stop focusing on the problems and begin to dream of possibilities so that each one of us can get out of the busyness of the hustle and step into the flow of divine creativity. And so I just speak a word of gratitude over this time, over this collective focus, over the energy that we get to cultivate here together. I give thanks for each person who sits in this room, who comes to this place to be about their own transformation. Because as each one of us works on ourselves, guess what? We begin to work on the collective consciousness. As we shift the collective consciousness, we shift what is out picturing in the world. So take a deep breath. And let us just rest in this moment, in knowing once again that there is something greater than we are that is breathing us. And as easily as we are breathed by God, let us show up as who we are meant to be. And so with that, I give it my yes. And so it is.